My deepest heart's desire is I want to feel your desire. Isn't that true? My deepest heart's desire, the greatest gift you can give me, is to let me see you in the quivering of your naked desire. And that's what we say to each other. And I'm not talking now here specifically about sexing. I'm talking about Eros. Let me see your open heart. Let you see my open heart. We're going to start today, friends, and we have an insanely important day. We're picking up from last week in terms of scripts of desire. Last week, we did this huge week on scripts of desire in reality and the relationship between Eros, desire, and existential risk. And we talked about that in terms of the nature of reality. And this week, we're going to talk about my own script of desire and how healing my own script of desire, which has to do with my sexual narrative, which has to do with the narrative of my story, actually is what transforms my life. And we're going to talk, what is my script of desire? And then we're going to talk about how that healing, how the healing of my own personal script of desire also heals the meta crisis, also addresses directly existential risk. And it's healing the script of desire in my body is what heals the body politic. Healing the script of desire in my personal story is what heals culture. Healing my own stories of abuse heals the abuse in culture. Making myself whole literally makes culture whole. Making myself whole, W-H-O-L-E, literally makes culture whole. But we're going to start a little bit differently today. We're going to drop into a chant song that we've listened to before. It's been a little while since we listened to it. It's called Fall on Me. And Krista, you can take us inside there. Okay. And we're just going to open to just kind of set the stage and kind of open our hearts. We're going to just kind of feel into the energy of Fall on Me. Don't worry about the words. Just feel into the sense of it. And it's about the blessing of the Father. About the blessing of the Father. And the blessing of the Father is about the healing of culture. The blessing of the Mother is about my most personal healing, my own most personal scripts of desire, the most intimate. And we're going to do today the blessing of the Father and the blessing of the Mother. And we're going to start with the blessing of the Father with Fall on Me. Okay? So just close your eyes for a second. If you're driving, don't close your eyes. And I'm going to ask everyone not to text, not to do anything else, don't fill the time, but let's enter and open our hearts so we can actually today do a healing on culture itself. We're going to try and articulate the deepest understanding we can of the new story of reality. What does it mean to become a new human? And it's only when I become a new human that we can create the new humanity. And can everyone feel that? We live in this time between worlds and this time between stories. We're threatened by genuine existential risk. There's a real meta crisis. And we know that existential risk means the potential death of humanity. And along the way, before that happens, the potential death of our humanity. Existential risk, we could actually cross the planetary boundaries and degrade the substrate of reality upon which life depends and cause the death of humanity, which is a genuine possibility. Or we could create control structures of surveillance and totalitarian hidden control or overt, obvious control Chinese Communist Party, obvious control. Techno-feudalism, using the web to control reality without people even knowing it's happening. Covert control, in which we lose access to our free will, to our capacity to choose, to our capacity to actually find the best of who we are, because we're trapped in a techno bubble, which we can't get out of, and we're scrolling our way to death, thinking we're choosing, but actually being manipulated by these upgraded algorithms that produce downgraded human beings. That's the death of our humanity. So to respond to existential risk, both the potential death of humanity and the potential death of our humanity, we have to actually tell a new story of value. And at the very core of this new story of value is what we called last week scripts of desire. And scripts is, someone can spell it in the chat box. We got the word. I'll write it for us. Scripts. Does everyone get that word? Scripts. There's a narrative of desire. There's the script of desire that I live in. So last week we talked about the scripts of desire in the biggest sense, the meta scripts of culture, the meta scripts of reality. I'm going to summarize a little bit of that because we didn't have the delight of Christina Tahel's recapitulation, although David really opened us up and kind of began to bring us inside. So I'll do a short recapitulation of just a couple of words. Then we're going to enter into today personal scripts of desire. What's my personal script of desire? And how do I evolve it to become whole, to become the new human, to move from being homo armor, the armored human being who can't access their script of desire, to becoming a homo amor, to becoming powerful beyond measure, because actually I can access my own unique desire, which is the source of my joy and the source of my power and the source of my ethics and the source of my delight. So it's a big day. And we're going to start with Fall on Me, which is always how G and I end or begin our conversations. We didn't get to do that today. So we're going to do it all here together, Fall on Me, which is going to open us up to the blessing of the Father. Are we ready? Are we ready? And yes, we're excited. And yes, we're delighted. And yes, we feel the agony and the ecstasy. And yes, we laugh out of one side of our mouth and we cry out of the other side of our mouth. And I just read this morning an incredibly painful story about two doctors who were killed in Gaza, trying to take care of their patients in an impossible reality. And every day, I feel and see the faces of young boys, 18, 19, 20, who are in the impossible position of protecting Israel after October 7th, which was probably the largest public rape, sexual abuse, murder, snuff film violence publicly played out in the history of the world. Wow. And Hamas is tragically holding the doctors hostage, the beautiful Palestinian doctors in Gaza who died as absolute gorgeous heroes. And at the core of Hamas is a failure of a love story. It's a failure to actually access a script of desire that's aligned with the nature of reality, that's aligned with with goodness, truth, and beauty. At the very core of the jihadi worldview is a degradation of desire, the dignity of desire, the desire of the body, the desire of sexuality, and an incapacity to hear the murmurings of the sacred, the murmurings of a desire in the other. In the one who's outside of the jihadi worldview. Can everyone feel that? Let's just kind of stay inside here, okay? Let's try and stay inside. Let's stay inside, friends. Let's stay on the inside of the inside. Let's feel where we are. Okay? So let's begin. And if you were here last week, this is part 2, directly continues on last week. And if you weren't, I'm just going to say, with your permission, tenderly, everyone, just a couple of words that will allow us to step in. Reality is desire at its core. That's what reality is. Reality is desire. That's how we begin. Reality is desire. That's what reality is. At its very core, reality has appetites, has appetition. Alfred North Whitehead used the word appetition, although no one really noticed it. The lineage of Solomon uses the word tishuka, T-E-S-H-U-K-A, tishuka, this essential desire that throbs at the very heart of cosmos itself. And I was privileged in a couple of academic works called Radical Kabbalah to unpack the lineage sources of the wisdom of Solomon. And there's a section in the first volume on this throbbing, pulsing, dripping, tumescent chuka, desire at the very heart of reality. And it's why reality doesn't stop with hydrogen. Oh, we've got hydrogen. Let's stop. In the first nanoseconds, in the first moments of time. But reality desires more. Reality has an incessant desire for more life and more value and more wholeness. And for the first time, what we're trying to do in order to heal culture at this moment of metacrisis, in this time between worlds and time between stories, is to actually access and articulate the intrinsic desires of reality. Now, the desires of reality are the plot lines of reality. Because my desire is the plot line of my life personally, in my life, my desire is the plot line of my life. I am desire. That's who I am. Desire is not extraneous to who I am. It's not an accident. It's my very essence. And at the human level, and at the most profound, the deepest expression of human consciousness, the emergent possibility of human consciousness that now needs to come online in order to heal culture and respond to the meta crisis and respond to existential risk is to actually become aware that who I am is desire. That desire is the plot line of my life. And what do I desire? I desire value. We always desire value. That's what desire is. I desire a value that's not here, that's not available. And I want that. And that want, that chuka, that appetite is sacred, is holy. So Eros is the experience of reality desiring ever deeper contact and ever greater wholeness. And that's the script of desire that's inherent in reality itself that we haven't accessed. Because those scripts of desire haven't been fully articulated. Instead, at different points in history, different social groups, different communities, different churches, different religions try to articulate codes of reality, codes to create what they felt was the best possible world. But those codes were almost never the universal codes that live and structure cosmos itself. Each religion intuited, got a sense of some value of reality, and then built its system around that value, right? So Christianity built its system around forgiveness. That became its value. Every system intuited a value and built their system around that particular value. But actually, there's a whole pantheon of values which are all desired by reality. And those are the first principles and first values of reality. Reality has first principles and first values that are desired by reality itself. Those are the scripts of desire that live in reality. In order to articulate in this world in which there's no more local religion by itself won't take us home. Local culture won't take us home. We're challenged by existential risk, which requires global coordination, because every existential risk which threatens our extinction is global. So we need global coordination, and global coordination requires global coherence. And global coherence means we've got to resonate with each other like musical instruments resonate with each other. We need global resonance. And to have global resonance, we need intimacy with each other. We need global intimacy. And we're now experiencing what we've called a global intimacy disorder. So how do we articulate global intimacy? We articulate global intimacy through the way we articulate global intimacy, the way we always create intimacy in every couple and every organization, and in every community. We only create intimacy when we have a shared story of value. We have a shared story of value. It's only a shared story of value that generates intimacy. If we don't share a ground of value together, then we can't have a shared vision. We can't go in the same place together. We can't do sense making together. We can't evaluate. You can't evaluate if you're not in a shared field of value. We can't do a shared evaluation of reality if we're not in a shared field of value. And if we're not in a shared field of value, we can't have global intimacy. So we have a global intimacy disorder. We have no resonance with each other. We have no global coherence. And so the challenges which are global, which require global coordination, aren't met. And even when we have a relatively minor existential risk, it actually wasn't an existential risk. It was a relatively minor catastrophic risk. COVID, millions of people died in COVID unnecessarily, without question, because of our incapacity to create global coordination, because we didn't have a shared field of value. So therefore, we didn't have shared intimacy. So now let's stay close, friends. So what we're doing here at the think tank is we're articulating the plot lines of reality's story, which is reality's scripts of desire, the clarified scripts of desire of reality that we all share, that we all participate in. So at the global level, what happens is individual countries articulate false narratives, narratives of pseudo-desire, narratives of pseudo-eros, which are actually not erotic. They're dissociated or alienated from the whole. My country should dominate. Whether my country is the Chinese Communist Party, whether it's the original Mongol horde, whether it's the brutalization of European colonial powers, right? Whether it's a particular tribe in Africa that brutalizes other parts of Africa, but we have a win-lose metrics in which every culture, every community, every nation, every religion is lost in its own ego self. It's dissociated from the whole. It tells a false narrative about itself, which places itself at the center. It becomes a hungry ghost for its own fulfillment and is unable to feel the whole. And that win-lose metrics generates broken, fragile systems, which are the root cause for existential risk. So we need to heal the broken scripts of desire of culture. A. And B, we need a way which is shared by all of humanity of healing our own broken scripts of desire. So we need a way to heal our own broken scripts of desire, meaning to create a new human. And we need a way to heal the broken scripts of desire of culture, which means to create a new humanity. And the beginning of that healing is the honoring of desire. That's where it begins. But I've got to honor desire, right? I've got to feel, stay with me. I've got to feel the goodness of desire. I've got to feel the dignity of desire. I've got to realize that reality itself is desire, and that desire actually is a force that needs to be deeply listened to. Desire is the language of the divine. Desire is the language which discloses value. All value is disclosed by desire. So the clarification of desire, knowing what I truly desire, what is my deepest heart's desire, both as a nation and as an individual, that we can actually share a global deepest heart's desire because we have a shared field of value, and we can heal the global intimacy disorder. We can heal the global intimacy disorder, which then heals culture, because we actually create a sense of being omni-considerate for the sake of the whole. We can feel the whole. We're not isolated. We're not lost in a cancerous narcissism. We can actually feel each other's desire. We can feel each other's hunger. We can feel each other's pain. We can feel the two doctors in Gaza. We can feel the young Israeli boys, right? No one's split off. Everyone's throbbing desire is for a shared field of value. We can all be unique expressions. Every religion, every country can be a unique expression of the field of value, a unique instrument in the symphony of value and Eros desire. But we're all part of the same music, and the music of reality is Eros desire itself. So now what I want to turn to is to actually create a shared script that can be used by every nation, right, by all of humanity, for every human being, which addresses how I heal, right, my own personal broken script of desire. Okay? So I want to just breathe for a second. Let's just breathe for a second. Okay? And let's just take now, I'm going to just take now for a second, like literally like 90 seconds, just to like be in silence. Let's just kind of pause for a second. Let's kind of hold that recapitulation. And then let's go into kind of my own personal broken scripts of desire. What does it mean to heal my own broken scripts of desire? How do I become the new human? How do I de-armor? How do I take off all that is blocking my ability to feel the unique clarity of my desire running through me, which leads me to my value? It leads me, and value is the plot line of my life. To know the value that's mine to pursue is to know the plot line of my life. I only know the plot line of my life if I can access the unique contours, the unique texture of my own desire. Okay? So this is so beyond exciting. Exciting is not the word. We want to actually heal the broken narratives of desire in order to heal culture itself. So we're going to take 90 seconds now, okay? We're going to take 90 seconds just to be just kind of in meditative silence, to be like deep on the inside together. And from that silence, let's pray that we have the words and we can do this together. Let's take 90 seconds, 2 minutes, just tender in silence. So here we go, my friends. And let's take this, slow and gentle and a step at a time. Desire lives in me. I participate in the field of desire. To be alive is to access the unique quality of my desire. To be in joy is a direct corollary, a direct byproduct of accessing the unique quality of my desire. Not my pseudo desire, not my surface desire, but my deepest heart's desire, the depth of my desire. Both my dignity and my divinity is dependent on my capacity to actually access my unique self. My unique self is not my separate self. It's not my broken skin encapsulated ego. My separate self, my broken skin encapsulated ego, is caught in false narratives, false stories of desire, desires that aren't mine, desires that were foisted upon me by algorithmic structures speaking to my lowest common denominator, desires that were thrust on me by broken church narratives, desires that were thrust on me by reductionist, materialistic narratives of win-lose metrics. All of these, combined with an unimaginable host of toxins, chemicals, pharmacologies, broken environments, broken ingestions, right, into the body of foodstuffs that shouldn't be in the body, either the distortion of the body or the malnourishment of the body. All of those together alienate me from my own script of desire. All of those together create a kind of cultural trauma which dissociates me. I can't find the voice of my unique self. So I have to first step out. I have to first step out of my separate self, step out of my skin encapsulated ego. And first I have to feel the wider field. That's the first step. I feel the wider field. Now, in the literatures of transformation, the interior sciences of transformation, often feeling that wider field was called true self and was called the field of awareness. And we were told, move beyond your story And I'm guilty. I taught this for years. In my late 30s, it was wrong, or it was true, but very, very partial. But we're told, move beyond your story and actually access the pure field of awareness that lives in you, the pure field of consciousness, and know that tat tvam ase, thou art that. You are pure consciousness. That's precisely half true. It is true, gorgeously true, as Max Planck, the quantum pioneer, said. He said, consciousness is fundamental to everything. But consciousness doesn't live by itself. Consciousness has an interior, and the interior of consciousness is desire, is Eros. There is no consciousness without Eros. So the field of true self, to move beyond my sense of being a skin encapsulated ego, right, a broken separate self, the move beyond that is to access this larger field, but this larger field is not just a field of awareness, of consciousness, right? It's a field of desire. It's a field of Eros. It's pulsing Eros. And Eros is this pulsing Eros that desires ever deeper contact and ever greater wholeness. Eros desires ever deeper intimacies, which means deeper and deeper shared identities. Not fusion, but unions, deeper mutualities of recognition, deeper mutualities of embrace, deeper mutualities of value, deeper mutualities of pathos. We feel each other, deeper mutualities of purpose, shared purpose and destiny. So Eros moves separate selves, separate parts into larger unions with these mutualities, these ever deeper, gorgeous and stunning intimacies, greater wholeness, ever deeper contact. That is the field of Eros. So I step and I realize I'm part of this larger, pulsating, tumescent, throbbing field of Eros. That's the story of value that I live in. That's true self. That's the beginning of the story of value, the story we call CosmoErotic humanism. But then there's a second step. And the second step is I realize I'm not just living in this pulsing field. This field is pulsing in me, but this field is not just pulsing in me. It's not just throbbing in me. It's not just tumescent and spreading itself open to receive the penetration of reality. It's not, right? No, actually, it's uniquely tumescent in me. It drips in me uniquely. It pulses in me uniquely. It throbs in me uniquely. I'm a unique configuration of desire. I'm a unique quality of desire that generates a unique quality of intimacy in reality that's unlike any quality of desire that ever was, is, or will be. And my story is not that which I move beyond. I move beyond my pseudo story, my surface egoic story, my story based on win-lose metrics, my story based on demonizing you, making you an other, seeking false forms of domination over you, false forms of status, placing you outside the circle to give myself the illusion of Eros that I'm inside the circle. I place you outside to give myself the illusion I'm inside. All of those are false narratives. They're false scripts of desire. I actually need to realize I have a unique story. That story is my sacred autobiography. And my sacred autobiography is my unique script of desire. Because my unique script of desire is that which I desire. And what I desire is I desire the unique value of my life, the unique gift of my life. So the unique expression of the first principles and first values of reality, awake and alive in me, that's my unique self. That's my unique configuration of desire. That's my unique pulsing and throbbing. That's my unique story. That's my sacred autobiography. So my sacred autobiography is the most true and authentic and stunning narrative of my life. right? It is my unique story. It is my unique love story, which is chapter and verse in the universe, a love story. My unique eros and my unique desire is the unique chapter and verse in the field of desire. See, not only do I live in the field of desire lives in me. I live in the field of desire lives in me. And so as I clarify my unique script of desire, I begin to realize my unique value, my unique gift, my unique ethos. And I realize, oh, I am here as a unique expression of the aliveness of the whole. And I'm filled with the desire to gift to the whole, to serve the whole, to be in devotion to the whole's aliveness. I become omniconsiderate for the sake of the whole. But it all begins with clarifying, right, my unique scripts of desire. So let's feel the field. So when I'm in the field and I have direct access to the field and the field lives uniquely in me, that's my unique self. That's my unique configuration of desire. When I'm blocked, when I can't access the field in which I participate, when my participation is blocked, then I can't actually know the plot line of my life, because the plot line of my life is my unique script of desire. Now, let me give you a couple of examples. I want to give it to you as an example at the level of the individual and at the level of culture. So in 1951, Donald Winnicott, an American theorist, writes about what he calls transitional objects. What are transitional objects? And a transitional object means, now stay really close. So I'm a baby. I'm held in the field of the mother. The mother, in some sense, is both the biological mother, right? There's an enormous need for the embrace of the biological mother. The mother who holds me. And the mother is also mother, right? It's the field of she, it's the field of Eros that knows my name and holds me. And I feel at home at the breast of the mother. I feel at home when my body is enmeshed with the body of the mother, which is why early childhood matters so much. But it's not dependent just on a biological mother, right? Even if my biological mother was imperfect, as all biological mothers are, there's a larger field of she which holds me. So this is the desire for the mother. It's Mother Nature, right? It's the mother as the field of value. It's mother as the field of Eros. It's mother as the welcome home sign in Cosmos. Mother is the experience that I'm welcome in Cosmos, that I'm needed. So when the existentialists tried to express their experience that they were no longer welcome in Cosmos, the existentialists of the mid-20th century got dissociated from the field of value. And they did so because there were very real critiques on the way the religions tried to own that field of value. The existentialists took in those critiques, but didn't know how to respond to them. And responding to them has been really the work personally of my life and of the center. And it's what we're going to be putting into the world in these coming weeks and months and years. So the existentialists, when they talked about this experience of being unwelcome in the universe, so let's say Camus' book, the existentialist writer Camus' book, The Stranger begins with the lines, "Mother died today," or was it yesterday? Did you get that? Mother died today, or was it yesterday? Meaning there's no mother that welcomes me, and the death of the mother doesn't matter. The mother's died and it doesn't matter because there is no field of value and there is no field of meaning. Right? And the world is random and happenstance. And that was the existentialist travesty and trauma. And all of existentialism was a failed, glorious, but failed attempt to create meaning where there was none. But it runs not just in Camus' literature. I happened across the other day, and I happened across, a text of public culture. Now stay close. This was a text of public culture from maybe 10, 15 years ago. There was whenever you have text of public culture, the goddess speaks through them subtly. And so this is a text of a show called The Sopranos. Tony Soprano. Who knows The Sopranos? They were on worldwide television. Anyone know The Sopranos? It's a text of public culture. So Tony Soprano is a kind of mafia boss, and he's not a good man. He is not a good man, and yet he's this strangely sympathetic character because you kind of feel his pain, and you feel that somewhere underneath there's some goodness that's still left, but he's a murderer, right? And in a serious way. And there's this little moment where he's talking to a psychiatrist, Dr. Melfi, and I'm going to read it to you. I jotted it down. And he says to a psychiatrist, he says, wow, he took some peyote, some medicine, and he has this experience, and he calls it a cosmic experience. And he says, I get it. Right? Tony Soprano, he says, so doctor says, what do you get? He says, this is going to sound stupid, but I saw at one point that our mothers, they're bus drivers. They're the vehicle that gets us here. They drop us off and go on their way. They continue on the journey. But the problem is we keep trying to get back on the bus instead of just letting it go. Wow. Right? You get that? So Tony Soprano is this devastating figure. He's got this intuition for a moment of the mother. But then he says, no, but they just got us here. They're just bus drivers. You can't really grasp the mother. And we keep trying to find the mother, but we just have to let it go. That strange text of culture. But the mother's more than a bus driver. The mother is the universal love story in person. The mother is, for those moments between baby and child, homo amor. It's why breastfeeding is so important. And I actually can feel the livingness of the divine, which is why the divine is often called El Shaddai. El Shaddai. Stay close. El Shaddai, right? El Shaddai is the God who is the breast in the lineage of Solomon. And feel that. Feel this enormous, I'm held at the breast of the mother. My desire is honored. My body is polymorphously perverse. In one language of early psychoanalysis, one of its best moments, meaning my body is alive. My body is a personal incarnation of the living universe. And when I have that experience, right, when I have that experience of the living somatic goodness of reality, right, when I feel my body pulsating reality, my body pulsates reality, right? Then I feel completely alive and reality self-evidently good. Then what happens? The mother leaves. And when the mother leaves, I get desperately afraid. Does everyone get that? The mother leaves, I get desperately afraid. So what do? So Winnicott says, I take on what he called a transitional object. Now, what is a transitional object? Anyone? What's a transitional object? What does that mean? What's a transitional object? Okay. So a transitional object means something that I invest with the experience of being welcome in the universe. So I write in the Tears book that we talk about, let's say, a teddy bear. We talk about a security blanket. And what's a security blanket? A security blanket is this object that I'm completely attached to. I'm completely connected to. I'm desiring that object. And if I lose that object, my heart crashes. I scream with pain. And all of my desire and all of my yearning is for that object, is to hold that object and to have that object hold me. That's a transitional object. But what happens is it begins as a teddy bear. It begins as a security blanket. It might be a puppy. But then as I get older, that security blanket doesn't disappear, It just changes faces. That security blanket might become some version of my athletic prowess. It might be, right, what I feel to be my beauty. My beauty becomes my transitional object, or my doctorate becomes my transitional object, or my relationship becomes my transitional object, or my child becomes my transitional object. And as I hold on, I'm not actually present. I'm not here. I'm not actually desiring you. I'm not desiring knowledge. I'm not desiring, right? Everything I desire becomes a desire for a transitional object that actually gives me the illusion of feeling welcome, or ideology. Every form of ideology, that ideology becomes my transitional object, whether it be my commitment to communism, whether it be my battle against sexism or classism, even though those might be legitimate battles, but my battle against it becomes my transitional object. My ideology becomes my transitional object. And that's exactly what happens. In other words, when we no longer feel the body's pulsating reality that welcomes me into the world, then we create false certainties. We create false transitional objects. We create pseudo scripts of desire. Okay, now let's go deeper. Let's go deeper. And I want to take now, let's just think about this. Let's spend 60 seconds just holding on to this. What is a transitional object in my life? Okay, we'll do 90 seconds in silence. What's a transitional object in my life? Right, you begin to see it. So there's these transitional objects which become my new script of desire. And they actually overwhelm me. They actually define me. They become a pseudo identity. They become a false narrative of my life. They become a false script of desire. But it's deeper. It's deeper than that. Let's go deeper. These are the scripts of desire that animate my heart, my body, my soul. And they replace my ability to have direct access to my own unique self, to my own true self, to the script of desire, which is the sacred autobiography, right? My unique letter, right, in the cosmic scroll. Now, how do I access that unique letter? So in order to know how to access that unique letter, in order to know how to access that unique script of desire, which is my sacred autobiography, I've got to find or locate, when did that get ruptured? When did I alienate from that? When did I lose access to it? And I almost always lost access to my own script of desire at a moment where my very embodiment, my aliveness itself, was shamed. I had an experience of my own desire. I had an experience of my Eros. I had an experience of, if you will, my aliveness, and that aliveness in some fundamental way was shamed. And often that shame incepts, particularly in the rejection of the embodied desire of the very young child in the pleasure of the body. I have this experience of my body, my mother's breast, held or yearning Either I'm held by the mother, or I'm yearning to be held by the mother. I find my own body. My body seems alive. My body seems to be a gate to the intrinsic goodness of reality. And as I reach for my body in one way or the other, I have an early fundamental experience, which virtually every human being has, of being shamed. And that shame creates trauma. And trauma is actually but a modern word for the original religious word, sin. And trauma and sin are the sense that I'm not welcome in the universe, that I'm not okay, that I'm not, but sin became I disobeyed God. But sin at its core, right, the original impulse was I'm not welcome. I can't feel my goodness. I can't feel the goodness of my aliveness. And in my earliest expression in the world, my goodness and my aliveness are completely connected. So my aliveness is shamed. I can't feel my aliveness. And so my goodness is degraded. And so I lose my capacity to trust my body. Does everyone get that? I lose my capacity to trust the living verse that is the story of my goodness and aliveness that lives in my body. I lose access to my own natural, unique desire, because that unique desire is directed, rescripted, denied, rejected, right? Degraded. And so I have this experience that I can no longer trust the pulsing, coursing, dripping, pulsing, throbbing currency of the divine, currency of reality that lives in my body. It's not trustable. I can't trust my desire. But remember, desire is not extraneous. Reality is desire. And I participate directly in the field of desire. And who I am, who my very essence is my unique configuration of desire. And my unique configuration of desire is the unique plug that plugs into the field of desire and allows me to access the goodness and aliveness of reality. And that goodness and aliveness are fully identified with each other. And so what happens? So I look for a transitional object. I look for a transitional object which begins as a security blanket. It begins as a security blanket, but that security blanket invisibly uplevels and transposes and shifts. It's a shapeshifter. Transitional objects are shapeshifters. And it shifts and it shapes. And that transitional object, whatever it is, and it has a name, every person can give it a different name. And sometimes my son's approval becomes my transitional object. If I have my son's approval, how could that be? How could a mother be dependent on her son's approval in order to live the fullness of her desire? But sometimes only if I have my son's approval. It sometimes reverses. We start with wanting the approval of culture, right, of the parent, but often the son or the daughter become the parent. That's one example. That's one example. There's many examples. And we all know them. And so what do I need to do? I need to be able to re-access my own desire. And I need to first be able to re-access desire as it lives in my body. Because my body is the field of the divine. And this is critical. And as we have 4 sexual narratives in reality: sex negative, right? Sex is dangerous and gets you in trouble, stay away from it. Classical church narrative, that's one script of desire. Second script of desire, Kinsey, sex neutral. Sex is basically like having lunch. How many people think that's true? That's a second script of desire in culture. Sex positive, sex is positive and sweet, and it's a panacea, and it creates good affiliation between people. And it's this nice biological force that we can use positively. Nice, but bland, and it doesn't capture the throbbing gravitas of the sexual. That's a third script of desire. And a fourth script of desire is sex sacred. Sex is sacred because it creates babies, because it creates life. And that's beautiful. But when was the last time most people in the world had sexuality in order to create life? And most sexing in the world is not to create life. And much of the sexing in the world that does create life actually contradicts life, because actually overpopulation is a major existential risk, because it actually crosses our planetary boundaries. So sex sacred, it is insufficient. So we don't have a script of desire in culture to meet our sexual experience, number one, to meet our experience of desire. We don't have a script of desire in culture to meet our own experience of desire, A. And then B, and our personal experience of our script of desire was that it was degraded and rejected. And those two come together and traumatize the body. So now I don't have direct access, right, to a basic experience of my own goodness. Does everyone feel that? I don't have direct access to a basic experience of my own goodness and the goodness of my own story. And so the pornographic universe enfolds me. And the pornographic universe might be algorithms of pornography that direct my script of desire and that hijack it, or that might be the pornographic universe of culture in which I'm motivated by every buffeting sensation in my drive for status in all of the disguised forms of my transitional objects, and I can't find my way back to the body. So we have to find our way back to the body and to the dignity of desire that lives in the body. Here's a lineage text. All of the books are holy. All of the sacred texts, they're all holy. But they're not holy of holies. They're not the temple. And holy of holies in the lineage tradition of Solomon is the place of the temple. And this unpacking we're about to do is lost. It's not available. And it was hidden. But it's so deep and it's so true. And we need to reclaim it and then evolve it and merge it. And merge it with the evolutionary sciences and with systems theory and complexity theory. But for now, I just want to give you two texts. Text one. All of the books are holy. All of the sacred texts are holy. But the Song of Solomon, right, is holy of holies. And what's the Song of Solomon? The Song of Solomon is this text, which is about, I'll read you one text. The fig tree puts forth her green figs, right? Arise, my love, my fair one, and come with me. His left hand is under my head. His right hand embraces me. They're lying down. Drink of the juice of my pomegranate. How beautiful and pleasant and gorgeous and stunning you are, O loved one, with all of your erotic delights. Your stature, your throbbing is like a palm tree. Your breasts are like its clusters. I will climb the palm tree and lay hold of its fruit. Oh, may your breasts be like clusters of the vine, and the scent of your breath like apples, your mouth and your kisses like the best wine. I am my beloved, and her desire is for me. Can you feel that? And the text of the Song of Solomon is this text, which is called Holy of Holies, which is the inner sanctum of the Solomon temple. And quite literally, the text of the Song of Songs is, what is it? It's a text of desire. And that text of desire is the very nature of reality herself. The Song of Songs reads, Toho Ratzuf Ahava. Toho Ratzuf Ahava, what does that mean? Toho Ratzuf Ahava, its insides are lined with love, with fuck, with eros, with tumescence. It's the nature of reality itself. It's the dignity of my desire. And when I actually get the dignity of desire, what I realize is, and I want to read you just for a second from this book, A Return to Eros, which is about, right, these new texts of desire. The text of ethos is written in the body sacred. That's the new script of desire. Not sex should be ethical. Of course, sex should be ethical. But sex is ethos. Eros is ethos. In other words, the quivering tenderness and the fierceness of the sexual, of desire, contains within it a complete bill of human rights. Sex as ethics means our code of ethos is enfleshed in our bodies. Sex as ethics means that the ecstatic urgency of the sexual contains within it all the principles of virtue and integrity. Sex implies human rights, the exquisite beauty of the moist feminine open to penetration, the rawness of desire, the yearning to touch and be touched, to ravish and be ravished, to hold and be held, are all radical screams of cosmos, of our intrinsic dignity, the essential truth that we're welcome in the cosmos. The radical pleasure and beauty of throbbing phallus and dripping yoni are democratized pleasures available to every human being, written in the script of every body sacred. These erotic capacities are not limited to the wealthy or the aristocratic or the particularly intellectual. Every human being is personally addressed by an intensity of pleasure that cries out in affirmation of our infinite worth and dignity. The Bill of Rights is encrypted in the script of desire that is our unique body. The democratization of dignity has its source in the democratization of the dignity of desire. Can you feel that, my friends? Can you feel that? Which is why in a second text, the lineage writes, if all the books of wisdom would not be given, the Song of Solomon would be sufficient as source for all governance, for all politics, for all economics, for all wisdom. The Bill of Rights is written in the body sacred. The belly holds within it all ethos. The taut nipple received in the mouth of the beloved holds in it the infinity of the divine. The dance of yin and yang, of Shiva and Shakti, of lines and circles enfleshed, encrypted in the body sacred. You know, we all long to be poets, but we forget that we are already poems, right? I don't really long to be a poet. I long to know that I am a poem. I am a sacred text. And I'm a unique sacred text because I have a unique story, and the unique sacred autobiography, the unique narrative of my life comes from my capacity to trust the direct knowing of my own intrinsic worth, which comes from my own anthro-ontological knowing. Anthro-ontological knowing, anthro, my human body, knowing is ontology. I have direct access to the very goodness of reality. I have direct access to the full field of ethos. I have direct access to the full field of value. The entire field of value is written in the giving and receiving that is the play of the sexual, that is the play of embodied desire. Sex is actually divine desire in the body, uniquely expressed. And it's only when I begin to heal the trauma of being unwelcome in the universe, and I begin to feel and listen to the depth of my own unique experience of desire, when I begin to locate myself as CosmoErotic humanism in person, when my body is a flame, but a flame can mean the most tender and gentle. My body is aflame with a desire to kiss my partner's shoulder, and that's enough. Sex doesn't look like one thing. The field of desire doesn't have one script. It's my unique script of desire. And when I access that unique script of desire, I actually end the trance of the pornographic universe. And by the pornographic universe, I mean not simply Pornhub, right? The actual incarnations of algorithmically generated scripts of desire, but I mean, again, the pornographic universe of culture, which is filled with the transitional objects that alienate me from the true desires of my life, my true gifts, from my true joy, because my joy is a direct byproduct of my true gift. So it's only when I begin to heal, the broken narrative of the abuses, and the abuses can be the abuses of culture that shamed me, which is one form of abuse. It can be the abuse which comes from the degradation of my unique desire and my unique sense of being able to trust my body. That's another form of abuse, and that's abuse of the sexual. Or it can be classical sexual abuse. And what is sexual abuse? It means that somebody else made me an object in their own degraded script of desire, which was based on the violation of my script of desire. I became an object in someone else's degraded story. And then I can't access my own story. Right? When I become an object, when I can no longer feel the dignity of my unique desire, when my unique desire is violated in sexual abuse, then I can't find my voice. And when we violate the desire of culture, which is the desire for a shared field of value. The desire of culture is the desire for global intimacy. The desire of culture to end the trance of the global intimacy disorder and to begin to experience ourselves together in a field of value. How absurd it is that we live in a world in which there's no local, the world's entirely global, and yet we don't have a shared field of value that we can live in together and love in together, that we can feel each other in together, that we can actually experience the depth and dignity of the desire of every human being on the planet. And ultimately, the desire and dignity of the planet itself. Right? When we split off the other, when the other becomes an infidel, when the other becomes one who is tortured and raped and murdered in order to fulfill my script of desire, right, then we live in a world which is about to fall apart at its very, very seams. At its very, very fabric is ripped apart. And we can only heal by actually enacting not a materialist world, which also is a violation of the script of desire. We talked a few weeks ago, there's the degradation of the script of desire by Hamas, which creates the jihadi culture of death, whether that was in Iraq with ISIS or in Syria with ISIS, all having nothing to do with Israel, or whether it's in Gaza when Hamas dominates the beauty of what should be a thriving Palestinian people. Or we're talking about a Western degradation of scripts of sacred desire, which is Barbie. Barbie, there is no love story. There is no intrinsic script of desire. Desire itself is a social construction. There is no canon Barbie. It's all a tale told by an idiot, full of sounds and furies signifying nothing. And Mrs. Mattel says to Barbie, humans just make up value. And then they die. No, desire is the language of the divine. And desire is enfleshed as you and as me. And through my enfleshment, desire embodies in you and me. Through my body, I vision God, writes the lineage. Through my body, I vision God. My body is the script of desire. And what do I desire? I desire value. And what value do I desire? I desire to come close to you. I desire to make contact with you. I desire to gift you the lover who's in the full thrall of intense desire, doesn't want to rape his beloved. She doesn't want to rape her beloved. She wants to ravish her beloved open to God, or open himself or open herself to be ravished open to God. Right? Not fuck you as degradation, but fuck you as let's fuck each other open to God. Let's love each other open to God. Let's ravish each other into rapture, right? That's the desire that lives in the body sacred. And if I lose access to that field of desire, which is the place in which I know with absolute certainty that I'm welcome in the universe, I can feel the welcome sign literally scripted in my body. And my body's unique and my desire is unique, and my unique desire is my message. But we're messengers who forgot our message. Right? We're messengers who forgot our message. What is my message? We're all messengers of the divine. And I'm a messenger of the divine through the unique script of my desire, where I let my transitional object go. I de-armor. And I begin to be able to hear the unique voice of Homo Amor, the new human. And it's only through healing our story of desire, through enacting a new narrative of desire, sex erotic. And what is sex erotic? Sex erotic is the knowing that the sexing that moves in me, the desire that moves in me, is the desire of reality. And that urgency that moves in me is not some pathology or some violation of my good citizen self or of my chaste religious self. No, my religion is my religare. My religare is my connecting, my enfleshment with all of reality itself, in which my body participates in the body politic. We need to democratize knowing, right? Every human being, right, has direct access to the knowing that reality is good and that I'm welcome in the universe. And if I listen in, what does it mean to torture someone? What does it mean to rape someone? Right, as we saw on October 7th. What does it mean, right, to not feel the abject pain, right, of two beautiful men doctors who died in Gaza, to cut myself off from that pain? It's to cut myself off from their desire. To know you, to be a great lover, is to witness and feel your desire. And I'm a great lover because with my eyes closed, I can feel where your desire is moving. And I can ride the field of desire with you together because I feel you and you feel me. And I feel you feeling me, and you feel me feeling you. And I feel me feeling you, feeling me, and you feel me feeling you, feeling me. And we begin to get these rivulets, these cycles, these spirals of ever intensifying and deepening desire. And when we come to the ecstatic explosion of desire, we scream out, oh God. Oh God, we scream out the name of God because we're in the Holy of Holies. I'm going to tell you something wild. And I was in Dharamsala, and I had a deep dive meeting with my dear friend. We sadly don't talk often in these years because the nature of where life is and its intensities. But I was with the Dalai Lama, and we were in his back room, and he asked me essentially, how did the lineage of Solomon survive the trauma, the degradation of the exile, when all peoples disappear, traumatized by hatred and violence? When the temples of Tibet were destroyed, the Dalai Lama was and remains beside himself. How do you perpetuate when the temple is destroyed the ethos and eros of your culture? So he asked me, how did the lineage of Solomon do it? And I cited him the text that we just studied together, right? All the texts are holy, but the Holy of Holies, and Holy of Holies is the inner sanctum of the temple in Jerusalem. The Holy of Holies is the Song of Solomon, meaning the Holy of Holies becomes no longer the physical temple in Jerusalem, but it becomes the bed of desire, the bed of the lovers is the new Holy of Holies. And so the people practicing the lineage of Solomon, even though they were degraded and abused and reviled and trampled on, as Arnold Toynbee, the British historian, points out, and therefore should not exist, but they kept coming back to the marriage bed. They kept coming back to the dignity of desire. They kept coming back to the utter goodness, right, of texts of desire written in the body sacred. And they did it imperfectly, and they did it in all sorts of ways that were complicated. But at the core, something kept them alive. And now that narrative of desire that lives deeply in the Song of Solomon, lives in the intuitive knowing of the Yab Yum in the Indian traditions, the dance of Shiva and Shakti, the yearning of yin for yang, the allurement that complexity theory understands to be at the heart of reality, that desire which brings protons and neutrons and electrons to come together. All of this has to actually form and articulate a new story of desire and its dignity. And what's the core dignity of desire? Desire's value. My deepest heart's desire is I want to feel your desire. Isn't that true? My deepest heart's desire, the greatest gift you can give me, is to let me see you in the quivering of your naked desire. That's what we say to each other. And I'm not talking now here specifically about sexing. I'm talking about Eros. Let me see your open heart. Let you see my open heart. Right? To be a beloved is to witness the quivering desire of my beloved. We have to, all of us, every one of us in the world has to understand to actually create a new body politic. We have to honor the quivering desire of every member and every tribe in the body politic. And we have to feel into the desire of every human being. And to know that every human being, how do you torture a human being that you just witnessed in the convulsing explosion of them entering heaven on the chariot of desire's dignity? We have to heal. We have to heal and create a new story of value. And that new story of value is sex erotic. And sex erotic says that the sexual models Eros, and Eros is the field of ethics. We have to reclaim the body and its goodness and let the body mediate it through the prism of the value which it desires, because that's what the lover desires. The lover always desires ever deeper contact. When I'm filled with desire for you, I'm filled with devotion for you. I want to serve your pleasure. I want to serve your wholeness, right? Every touch, every gesture, right, is alive and replete with meaning and infinity. And I always scream your name, and then the name of God, and then yes. In every culture, we always say three things in the explosion of desire. We say yes. We say the name of the beloved. We say the name of God, because the yes is the body sacred telling me that I'm welcome in cosmos and that every human being is welcome, that we have a shared story of value. And the name of the beloved and the name of God, I realize they're the same name. There's no split between them, right? To be filled with desires to see my beloved with the eyes of she. Cha. So this is the new story. This is beyond the transitional object. This is the new narrative of desire, which heals my personal broken body, which heals the body politic. We can't bypass the story of desire. We can't demonize scripts of desire. We need to actually recognize that every human being is a unique self, and a unique self is a unique script of desire. And we need to be in devotion and service to the emergence of the unique story, which is the unique value, which is the unique script of desire of every human being. And from there, we create a unique self-symphony where our scripts of desire come together in a common story of value. Omni-considerate for the sake of the whole. We understand that that which unites us is so much greater than that which divides us, that we are fierce and tender and quivering desire. And my deepest heart's desire is I want to make love with every human being on the planet. Not actually physically. That would take a while, right? But I want to have that experience of the divine. And what it means to be the divine field is that the divine field is personally addressing and making love with every human being. And so that divine field lives in me. Right? I'm an erotic mystic. I want to make love with every human being on the planet. right? Not to enact that in physical sexing, but to be in mad devotion, right? To every human being on the planet. And I can feel their pain and I can hear their desire and I can taste their quivering. And I honor, full honor, mad devotion, right, to the divinity and dignity of their unique script of desire and the unique script of desire of their people and their unique instrument and the unique self-symphony. That's the beginning of a new world. That's the beginning of the healing of culture. When we bypass desire, we create abuse. When we bypass desire, we create the abuse of the sexual. When we create political abuse, we create racial abuse. We create all sorts of ideologies and all sorts of others that we place outside the circle to give ourselves the illusion of being alive. Aliveness lives in us directly. It's available immediately. It's the democratization of greatness, which is the democratization of desire and the democratization of the dignity of desire. So that's the beginning. Accessing my unique self is accessing my own unique script of desire and knowing that my desire is desired, right, by all that is. Ja. So thank you for staying with. And I turn to Krista, right? Thank you for staying with, and thank you for being with us together, right, in this healing. Ja.
Yeah, wow. Thank you. Thank you, Marc Gafni. We're just so filled with hope and filled with desire and filled with eros, I'm sure, after this beautiful journey. And I want to just ask ourselves to, like, what is the next step that I can take in my life right now to become this desire, to enact this desire, to embody this desire? What is my deepest heart's desire, and what does reality need from me right now to participate in the evolution of love? Because we're here, we're so privileged to receive this Dharma, to study the new story, and then what do we do with it? So one thing that we can all do with it is, of course, is buy this amazing book, A Return to Eros. This is what Marc was talking about, the foundational work of it. So if you want to study more, this is the one to get, and the link will be in the chat box right now. Another way to study is to go to Substack. We have an amazing Substack. You can find it under Marc Gafni, but it's the Substack of the Center for World Philosophy and Religion. And we'll put that link in the chat box or also in the description on YouTube later. And there you can find all the weekly episodes edited by our beautiful Elena every week. And then, of course, we all want to be resourcing our home. We all want to take responsibility to bring this new story into the world, because the greatest pleasure, as we also say in the Dharma, the litmus test for genuine pleasure is actually that we want to share it, and that's the deepest pleasure of all. So who do you know that you want to share this Dharma with? So maybe later in the week when we send out a replay, you want to share it with a friend, or you want to invite a friend to come here every Sunday. Those are all beautiful ways that you can participate. But also, I would love to hear from you. If you have a unique desire throbbing in your heart right now, and you're like, oh, wow, this is the gift that I want to give to this revolution, please do reach out to me, and I would love to get to know you and hear more about your sacred autobiography and what brought you here in this beautiful band of outrageous lovers.